This is the MGTOW Infinium here with another Infinium out and about. This Infinium out and about is entitled, "Oh No, I Wouldn't." Now, my MGTOW brothers, I'm sitting in the Dollar Tree complex where there is apartments, condos, this and that and whatever. On the right side, I think this is a condo, and on the left side, I think they're building another condo. And across the street, there used to be a church over there, but they sold that property, and there are stores going up in that land there. But my brothers, I wanted to talk to you about this situation in Ukraine. And Joker had covered this yesterday and expressed his sentiments. And then there was a live stream with Dak and a few other MGTOW brothers out there also discussing this sentiment earlier this morning, I believe. But my sentiment is this. Basically, and long story short, I wouldn't do it if I was called up to be a soldier to fight in a war with Russia, should it get to that extent. And I'll give you a little backstory. In the 70s, I was about to be drafted into the Vietnam War because my draft card number, I guess the number that was on it, was in the last lot of numbers that was in the, I guess, the lottery that they had at that time, which came up. And if it came up and your number was in that round of numbers, you had to go and fight in that war. But fortunately for me, the war ended, and all I had to do was to go over to the Selective Service office in the Bronx, New York. I think it was on the Grand Concourse or something like that, and explain to the people there why I let my draft card expire. I can't remember what lame excuse I gave them, but they took it, and that was it, and I called it a day. And also back in those days, if you did not go and became a draft dodger, the military was very, very aggressive about rounding up draft dodgers. So, for instance, there was a friend of mine that lived in the Bronx, New York, on the same street that I did, and he was a draft dodger. And we began to warn him that you better go before it's too late and just do what you need to do, because they're going to come and take you away. And he laughed it off. And one night, it was about 10 o'clock at night, two MPs in a Jeep showed up at his house, arrested him, and hauled him away. So that happened. So in those days, there was the added pressure of do your duty. Plus, if you did not do your duty, it would be, or else we'll come and get you, and you will do your duty no matter what. But these days, my brothers, if, for instance, I was called up again, and even though I'm 65, yes, that can happen, because, for instance, I was looking into the Ukraine situation, and those people over there are conscripting men of 18 years to 60 years old. So they could easily extend that to 70. So if something like that happened with our country, I'll put it this way, and if they got desperate, they could easily do something like that. But my brothers, even if they did something like that, I would not do it. And mainly because of my attitude and my state of mind, I should say, about what's going on. First of all, I know in the back of my mind that if, for instance, I got conscripted and got forced to fight. I am fighting for a country that does not care about me. And if you don't think that's the case, look at what happened in Afghanistan with those troops that got killed over there, and how the U.S. abandoned not only those troops, but the people that were on the side of the U.S. All those things happened. So that's one thing. This country does not care about its troops. It just cares about the agendas that they need to fight, this and that, whatever. And secondly, as a man in this country, which this country, let's face it, my brothers, is basically a feminist plantation state. This country demands that I, on one level, as a man, that I do my duty as a wage slave, that I have to get married. I have to marry that single mother, so to speak. That I have to go and accept that I can be divorced, raped, that womanists can do anything and everything to me. I have to go and accept the fact that if I smile at a woman and she decides that I'm intending to rape her, she can get away with just saying he smiled at me and so I thought he was going to rape me. So I'm living in a country which allows this. I'm living in a country which allows men to be tormented in every way in terms of womanism. So if, for instance, this country gets into it with Russia and they need men to go fight for them, in my mind, it is going and fighting for womanism, for women to have their way in terms of womanism, in terms of how they deal with men, in terms of all these types of things. And even further, there is the point of equality. Wominists have been running around saying that they want fair pay, they want equal pay, this and that, whatever, when really they have all the advantages already. But for instance, the U.S. women's soccer team or whatever, they're celebrating because they now can get fair pay and equity with the men's soccer teams. And see, there again, these womanists are running around. They want everything to be equal. So in my mind, when they're running around saying, well, no, women can't be drafted, and they're backing up and saying, no, women can't go to war because you need the women to stay back and take care of things, this and that, whatever, blah, blah, blah. That's just BS to me. And it's saying to me that the equality that women want is hypocritical. So that's number two. You're asking me to go out and do my duty when another segment of this population of the feminist plantation state is saying no, even though we want equality, we don't have to go to war. We don't have to die in a battlefield. We don't have to do these things. So again, my brothers, these days, when it comes to doing my duty or the Starship Troopers type of thing, I'm doing my part. In terms of this country, it is no. And it's, with me, hell to the no. Because again, when I look at the way things are going in this country, it is, why should I sacrifice myself? Why should I put myself out for someone who does not care about me? And it's the same way, when these womanists run around and saying that the MGTOW philosophy is so cruel and is so belligerent towards women, I have no reason in my mind to, again, do something like getting married, do something like marrying a single mother, all the way to going out and fighting in a war for this country, when I know that A to Z, this country, womenist, A to Z, do not care about me as a man. This is the MGTOW Infinium, and this has been an Infinium out and about. My MGTOW brothers, as always, stay safe, stay strong, stay on the MGTOW path, and remember, MGTOW is the liberation of men's minds. MGTOW cannot and will not be stopped.